There are 25 full-time first-class umpires, and I manage them. So that is everything from recruiting, contracting, developing, assessing, appointing, and retiring.
Right. So how did that all come about?
Well, I was an umpire. When I stopped playing, I did a bit of umpiring, and I became a first-class umpire. And I spent 2 years on the ECB reserve list. And during the second year, I replied to an advert from ICC. They were looking for somebody to manage the elite umpires. And so I applied and I got the job. So I worked as the ICC Umpires and Referees Manager. At the time, the new elite panel was introduced in 2002. I worked with ICC for 4 years, and they moved to Dubai in 2005. And while I was in Dubai, I got the offer to come and do the same work with ECB, and I jumped at the opportunity.
So how was that kind of experience working for the ICC?
It was quite surreal, really, for someone who hadn't played professional cricket to all of a sudden be given a job at the very highest level of the sport, which involved appointing to test matches, to ODIs around the world, to Cricket World Cup 2003 in South Africa. And it was just a fantastic opportunity just to learn about the world of professional cricket.
So do you think that, you said you hadn't played professional cricket before. Had you come through the ranks in terms of umpiring in club cricket, county cricket?
Yeah, I started umpiring around about 1987, 98 with schools cricket in Worcester. I was a school teacher then. The headmaster wanted me to run a team on Saturdays, so I couldn't play. And if I was going to umpire, I thought I'd better learn the laws. And I just went from there to Worcester Evening League, Division 5, 4, 3, up to the Birmingham League, county second team, minor counties. And then I was appointed on the first class list in 2000.
And do you think there is a kind of a path for up-and-coming umpires?
There is a path, and that's one of my responsibilities to make sure.
Yeah, if you could just kind of go into that.
Yeah, the pathway is. We have a preference for former players who history tells us have been really successful when they've converted to being an umpire. You can quote people like David Shepherd, Peter Willey, Neil Malander, to name but a few. Currently Rob Bailey, Tim Robinson, well-known players, really successful umpires. Ian Gould, Richard Kettlebert have all played the game. And they have the great advantage of understanding the environment, and they do. And they're able to understand and anticipate what's coming in the game and react appropriately. But they also are highly skilled man managers, and they manage the people in highly competitive situations. And there are well-known umpires who haven't played first-class cricket. There's Jeff Evans, who's currently coming to start of his last year before he retires, who's been on the list since 1989, I think. And all of these people are they're great man managers, and the people who haven't played professional cricket have got to work a lot harder to get the credibility. But after several years, if they're any good, they will get the credibility and they'll be respected as an umpire, and their past would be irrelevant.
So what are actually the paths to go forward? So if you can just run through that as well. You say it's your job to kind of, would it be fair to say, pick them out of the setup? How would one get recognised?
Well, there's a recreational arm of the ECB Association of Cricket Officials, and that's a membership organisation, and they provide umpires for Premier Division cricket. And if they wanted to go beyond Premier Division, they could be nominated to what we call the national panel. The national panel is 70 or 80 umpires who umpire in county second 11 cricket, and they stand with first-class umpires. And they also do what was minor counties, which is now going to be called the national counties. So these umpires umpire throughout the summer, doing high level of recreational cricket. When they're ready, when their performances demonstrate that there's some prospects or potential there, and there are vacancies in the professional game, they will be given opportunities in the professional game.
So how are performances assessed? Because obviously you don't have the in that level television replays as such to kind of to monitor. So how are they assessed?
Well, we have more and more venues now, or games are filmed on video, and we have access to all that video through the internet. We have captains who report on them, and unlike other areas of the game, the captains in second 11 cricket are much more objective, because there's less at stake in a second 11 game. There's no prize money there, so in a way the coaches stroke captain will see themselves as the gatekeeper to professional cricket. And it's really quite clear if somebody's participating at that level, if it's a level that they're not comfortable in, or alternatively a level that they excel in. And by providing opportunities for them, we get to know a lot about them, about the individuals, and we spend time developing them. They come to their own day with the first-class umpires every pre-season, and the first-class umpires spend time passing on what they know, what the skills that they have, to help them on the journey through and to make the transition.
And do you think presently there are a lot of ex-players and non-ex-players actually wanting to become umpires, or is it kind of one you just got to, you're searching for and you're advertising it out? Or is there a demand?
There is a huge interest of becoming a first-class umpire, especially from within the game. The PCA always present this to the current players as an option when they finish playing, and there's throughout the list at the moment, I think of the 25 full-time umpires, there are 3 who haven't played first-class cricket. On the national panel, there are 4 former players on the national panel waiting for the time where the vacancies arise, and hoping they can step up to the plate.
And in your role currently, what are the greatest challenges?
The greatest challenge is to provide the umpires with instant feedback, which is supportive, objective, which helps them move forward. The biggest challenge of the game is that the length of time it takes to play the game.
Overrates.
Well, I'm thinking more of the multiple day games,
right,
where a game lasts 4 days, and that cricket has a challenge to everybody in terms of the time, the amount of time it takes to play it, to organise it. So collecting information from the game, which is objective and helpful to the umpire, is my greatest challenge.
And do you think there is a support structure in place for umpires? Look at the advent of DRS. There's a lot of scrutiny now on umpires, more than ever. Is there that support structure? If an umpire gets a decision wrong, instantaneously, the whole world knows. If you're talking about test level.
Well, the umpires at test level, the best thing about DRS is that they will know immediately whether they're right or not, and whether they're right or not, they can move on. So it actually brings closure to the decision. So if they're overturned, initially they may lose a bit of confidence, but overriding factor to the experienced ones is at least the right decision has been made, and now I can move on. So that closure actually supports them. And the thing about having more and more technology, it actually makes the umpiring itself more and more challenging. And there's a temptation to over-rely on the technology, which is the last thing you want to do. The umpire has to keep umpiring. Just umpire as he sees things, as they unfold, make the decisions he has to make. If technology comes in and overrules it, okay, that's good. But they mustn't mustn't be umpiring knowing that there's technology. So they still must make the decisions, but then they can always be corrected if it's incorrect.
So do you think that technology could be potentially used more? Yeah, I'm thinking more of no balls, etc. I know they check it after every wicket, but...
It depends on the playing conditions that you're using, because ICC have had to change the law to fit in with their DRS protocols. So if you're umpiring with ICC regulations, then there is probably more scope to use technology to help with no balls. if you're umpiring to the laws of cricket, where the onus is on the bowler to show that he is legal, the umpires then don't need the technology. And we need to be really careful by introducing technology at the top level that we don't necessarily follow that at all levels, because if you're not careful, you will de-skill the umpires. Because the no ball calling, for example, of an umpire at the bowler's end is so skillful, and you need a lot of confidence to do it. It's a great opportunity to build a relationship with the bowler, which is so important in managing the game, that if you take that away from him, then you could be de-skilling them.
So what do you think is the hardest part of umpiring?
The hardest part is to create that consistency of application of playing conditions, especially around player behaviour, managing the player behaviour in the competitive environment so that you're seen as fair and yet everyone's got equal opportunity.
And obviously it's a long day sport, concentration mentally, physically it is still demanding. Are there tests that umpires need to pass?
Yeah, we have annual fitness tests, and we have annual vision tests. We have special vision tests which are written or designed for cricket umpires, which test the sharpness and the eye movement and the accuracy of eye movements and the ability to move and look at the right thing at the right time and keeping your head still, etc., etc. So we do a lot of work on eye movements. We do a lot of work on strength fitness testing. So fitness, aerobic fitness, ironically, is really important, but also nutrition and diet is exceptionally important. In the past, we always used to say to the counties, when you supply a meal for the players, the umpires will have the same. But of course, the players will eat a lot of carbohydrates, and that's the last thing the umpires need because they're not expending the energy. The umpires need protein, and a little bit and often rather than a lot. So in most cases, they're carrying small protein bars, and they need to keep themselves hydrated, not to the extent that they need to be leaving the field regularly, but they need to maintain high hydration levels to ensure that their concentration and focus is as sharp as it can be. So they have to put an awful lot of time and effort into planning for their cricket, planning to get themselves in the right frame of mind and to get themselves where they need to be.
And having worked for the ICC and now the ECB, perhaps you're a good person to ask on this. Neutral umpires, what are your views on that?
My views are
different.
Yeah, they're different now than they were, obviously, when I was working at ICC. ICC claim to want to have the best umpires as often as possible umpiring the top cricket, and everybody would like that. But while you restrict the elite panel to a finite number, it's very difficult to achieve that, because currently there are 4 English umpires on the elite panel out of 12, which means, and there's 3 Australians on there, so during the Ashes there are 7 umpires. There's only 5 umpires left who can umpire the Ashes. Now, whether or not they're the best umpires is for other people to decide. But it makes it really difficult if you need to make sure that the umpires are independent of the teams playing, because it's generally regarded that the best umpires are from Australia and England, and yet the Australia and England teams are deprived of the best umpires in most of their cricket.
So do you think that's a law that the game moving forward should be looking to change?
It was always the intention in 2002 when they set up the elite panel for it to be a starting point so that at the right time they can revert back to maybe having 1 local umpire. That hasn't happened, and there's some countries in the world who definitely don't want that. They want independent umpires. There is a potential chance that as the role of the third umpire becomes more important, and while you've got the opportunity to correct decisions, and there is so much scrutiny, there is an argument to say it doesn't really matter which umpires are in the middle. It's the third umpire who needs to have that independent view, because he can always overturn, or the decision will come to him anyway. So the more technology comes in, there might be a chance for home umpires on field, but you'd have to retain that independence as third umpire.
And in terms of the laws of the game, I did touch on it just earlier about overrates and such. Is that probably the hardest thing for umpires to police?
It's a challenge, but to me it's all about the umpires managing the game and outlining very clearly before the cricket starts what their expectations are to the players and how it's going to be enforced and how they're going to support the players. Over the last 3 years, we sat down with the umpires 3 years ago, especially relating to 2020, because we can't afford to have 2020 matches overrunning because of floodlight curfews and the one county that doesn't have floodlights, but want to start the games as late as possible so people can come and watch them. So it's really important that we finish the games on time, and the umpires came up with a system where they were very proactive working with the captains, and they will update the captain after 6 overs, 10 overs and 15 overs and tell them exactly where they are. And it has been so successful. In the last 3 years, there's only been about 4, maybe 5 overrate penalties, which, given that over 3 years there are nearly 400 matches, that's a phenomenal achievement. And it's all epitomised on 2020 finals day. We have 3 matches decided by cricket. Cricket's determining the winner, and all matches are finishing on time. And that's in the most highest pressure cauldron, where captains need to be precise, they need to think through, yet if they're supported and motivated, there is time to get the game through. And that's the real focus of the umpire, is manage the game, share or support the players and get the game through.
And in terms of, I wanted to ask you this question about kind of like the darker side of the game, talking more specifically about ball tampering. Again, is that how difficult is that for the umpires to kind of monitor?
It's easy to monitor. It's sometimes difficult to make the call you are going to be reported.
So do the umpires, is it in their kind of remit to continually check the ball?
Yeah, the ball is checked all the time. Even if the umpire doesn't take the ball might be rolling on the ground. They will always take an opportunity to look at the state of the ball, not because they're worried about ball tampering, more because the next delivery, the ball might be hit out the ground, so they need to replace one of similar wear. So they'll always have in their mind what state the ball is in, so that they can replace it with a like for like ball. But then, of course, in 150 over cricket now, they have 2 balls, so they look at it at the end of each over anyway. 2020, they're very much alive to 2020 in terms of a ball that might start doing something unusual. They will straight away look at it and then monitor that.
And then in terms of any kind of rule changes that have come into the game, things that you feel that might benefit the game, is there anything that you kind of believe wholeheartedly has benefit or that could change to move the game forward, help umpires, etc.? It's a difficult question.
It is tricky with no notice. We have just introduced a new regulation for the overrates, which will be really interesting to see how that works next year. We've taken away the 6-run penalty for the slow overrates, and we've introduced that if the overrate fails to reach the levels we want it, we're actually going to take one of their fielders and bring it inside the ring. And the rationale for that is down to, there's a game at Bristol last year which was, for the spectator, ruined because a 6-run penalty was awarded at the start of the last over, game over. So the spectators were deprived of a close finish. But if instead of awarding 6 runs, we were able to say, all right, you've got to bring one fielder into the circle, so you've got one fielder fewer out. There's still a huge advantage to the batting side, but the game is determined by cricket. So that's quite a radical change this year, which it'll be really interesting to see how the players react to that.
And just one final kind of question, if I may. Looking back at the World Cup final,
yeah,
ball comes in, hits Ben Stokes' bat whilst he's diving in, goes to the boundary, 6 runs awarded. Now, to the letter of the law, you know, after the game and such, a lot was said that, I'm not saying that the result would have changed or anything, just I'm talking about that specific moment. 1 extra run was awarded, so it should have been 5. Now, in terms of the umpires working together with the third umpire, you got the technology there. Was it just an error on their part?
It was an error, but there is so much that they have to be aware of and looking for and checking. And when you're in that situation, in that cauldron, where you've got 4 umpires, a match referee, all of whom agreed with each other, it's very difficult to go against that. The trick about an umpire is there's so much to look for. Every delivery, you have to look for the right thing at the right time. And it's totally understandable that at some point in that game, they weren't necessarily watching the fielder at the instant they needed to, because there would have been so many other things that they would have had to focus on. And they just had to make the call. They made the call and they stuck with it.
So does the third umpire, does he ask the producer as such, whoever's broadcasting it, what replays are available as such? How does that work?
They have a direct link to the director. The directors in this country, for example, are outstanding, and they know what they're going to be asked before they're asked. They're so helpful and supportive. But the third umpire can ask, "What have you got? Show me," because they have the layout of the cameras in front of them, so they could give them a specific camera if they wanted to, but they can say long on, long off camera, is there anything there, and the yes or no, and they'll provide whatever they've got. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Chris, you've given us a fantastic insight into the world of umpiring. Really appreciate your time today.
It's a pleasure.
So Neel Khagram, Cricket Life Stories, Chris Kelly. Thank you.
All right.